Hello to all my dear brothers and sisters, and whoever you are, welcome to this channel. My name is Abdias. Let me remind you that I am one of Jehovah's Witnesses, very proud to be one, and of course I am deeply convinced that this organization truly belongs to the one true God, Jehovah. If you want to know my arguments on this subject, I refer you to videos 3, 4, and 5 on this channel. This video follows videos number 6, 7, 8, and 9, which are dedicated to this blind obedience to those who lead us. To conclude this series, we needed to comment on the film titled Let Jehovah Direct Your Path, produced by Jehovah's Witnesses. Anyone can watch or download this film for free on jw.org. It is in 2 episodes. It's a story set in Africa on the eve of possible violent political unrest. So there comes a moment in the film when the body of elders meets to decide whether they should give the brothers and sisters instructions to flee. The coordinator of the body of elders explains that arrangements need to be made to help brothers and sisters who decide to flee any potential unrest. It gives the impression that everyone is free to do as they wish. There's absolutely no problem if some want to flee. We will help them. If they don't want to flee, that's their decision. But we'll see that in reality, the brothers and sisters are certainly not as free as that to decide. So in the film, the body of elders is gathered to prepare an escape plan, and a brother, let's call him in quotes, a rebel, speaks up to explain that the danger seems very exaggerated to him. He addresses the body of elders, I'll quote him, but we're talking about rumors. Do you want to tell the brothers and sisters to leave now? Did you notice the particularly relevant difference? The coordinator explains that the body of elders must help the brothers and sisters who would like to flee the possible danger. And the rebellious brother asks, you mean to say, tell the brothers and sisters to leave now? In other words, you want to instruct the brothers and sisters to leave now? That's exactly what happened during the COVID crisis. The brothers from the governing body spoke very kindly, very calmly, giving the impression through their very well thought out and carefully calculated narrative that the brothers and sisters were doing what they wanted, that they were free. But the reality was quite different. And in this video, it's the same. They're made to believe that the brothers and sisters will have a choice. But in reality, they will be told what they have to do. They will be given instructions and will have to obey them. The scene continues with an elderly brother from the body of elders who speaks very slowly, very calmly, a symbol of wisdom and good sense. He speaks up to remind the rebellious brothers, and I quote, that the members of the body of elders must be united as one. End of quote. All elders or brothers who have been elders know what this phrase means. It's a gentle reminder to those so-called rebellious brothers to make them understand that they must support the decision being made by the body of elders. And if they don't support this decision, they might be removed. So right away, we already have 4 people who might not really have much of a choice, actually. They will have to avoid this elder brother, the so-called rebel, and his family, but also all ministerial servants and regular pioneers, since this category of brothers and sisters has a special duty to set an example. Oh yes, when you're appointed, pardon the expression, but they have you by the balls or by the ovaries if you're a sister. So when the brother says in his syrupy voice that we need to help brothers and sisters who want to avoid him, that's absolutely not true. In reality, we all know that's not how it is. The elders are the voice of Jehovah, and we must obey the voice of Jehovah. Please remind me the title of this movie. Let Jehovah guide your path. The title is not let the elders think and decide for you, or being too stupid to think for yourself, let others think for you. No, the title is let Jehovah guide your path. And yes, once again, they're trying to make us believe that the words of the elders are the words of Jehovah. We're seeing the same approach as during the COVID crisis. All the news updates were presented in a kind, loving way, giving the impression that everyone was completely free to get vaccinated or not. But in an almost subliminal way, the message was coercive. Let's get back to our story. Don't the brothers and sisters in the video in the congregation have radios or TVs to know what's going on? Don't they have Bibles to learn from Jehovah's wisdom? Are they little babies, too dumb to analyze the situation, too immature to make their own decisions? So what's the problem really? Overnight, the body of elders decides they have the right to take control over the lives of their brothers and sisters, to dominate their consciences as if they were responsible before Jehovah for the lives of their companions. The reality is that in Jehovah's eyes, they are absolutely not responsible for anything. It's only in the minds of the members of the governing body that elders worldwide are responsible for the lives and survival of their brothers and sisters. In reality, each brother and sister is responsible for their own life and their own decisions. This is something that 100% of Jehovah's Witnesses around the world fully acknowledge. My dear brothers and sisters, do you truly understand that for someone to genuinely take full responsibility for their very own decisions, you absolutely have to allow them to make those important decisions themselves without putting any kind of pressure on them? The members of the governing body are simply responsible for helping people understand the Bible, organizing the worldwide preaching work, and possibly offering their help in case of disaster or future catastrophe. To offer their help, not to impose it. Now, these elder brothers in the film are in no way prophets. They give instructions to the brothers and sisters to flee to a certain place, as explained in the video. But let's imagine that the armed rebels, who might be about to cause trouble, find out that people are fleeing, go around the area and massacre half of the brothers and sisters who are trying to escape, which is entirely possible. What are the 5 elders going to say then? Who in the end will have been responsible for this tragedy because they strongly urged their brothers and sisters to flee to that particular place? What will they say? Maybe they'll imitate the governing body, which caused so many deaths because of completely reckless and immature instructions during the 2020 crisis. Maybe they'll also smile foolishly, telling their brothers and sisters that they really love them a lot and that they can be sure Jehovah is very proud that they obeyed the instructions. So now I come to my famous question for Jehovah's Witnesses all around the world. And please don't hesitate to give me the answer in the comments if you have it, because I'm really very curious to hear from you. So here is the question. Why not simply tell the brothers and sisters, be aware that part of the body of elders has decided to flee? If some publishers want to join them, get in touch with such and such elder. Honestly, I don't know. What would actually be the problem with acting this way? No pressure, no threats, no reprisals. Everyone truly does as they wish. By acting this way, what will happen? First, the elders free themselves from any possible blood guilt. They have informed their brothers and sisters of the possible danger, so they have nothing more to reproach themselves for in Jehovah's eyes. They also protect themselves from any blood guilt before Jehovah in case their instructions go wrong. Secondly, by acting in this way, the elders avoid violating the biblical principle that requires them to respect the conscience of their brothers and sisters, leaving them to take their own responsibility before Jehovah on matters of conscience. Thirdly, they do not try to deprive their brothers and sisters of their free will and their right to make their own decisions. By the way, even Jehovah does not allow himself to deprive us of our free will. Fourthly, they avoid taking on potential legal responsibility if their instructions go wrong. I will actually expand on this topic in my next video, which will explain why it is not utopian to think that the brothers of the governing body could be brought before a religious disciplinary committee. So don't hesitate to subscribe if you think this topic might interest you. Please, if there are only advantages to letting brothers and sisters make their own decisions and only disadvantages from a spiritual and perhaps even a legal point of view, what is the governing body's interest in acting in such an authoritarian way? Why does the governing body do this? What is their interest in forcing brothers and sisters into blind obedience? Why do they do this? Please kindly answer me in the comments, or you can reach out to me privately. Just to be clear, I am personally convinced that Jehovah uses the elders to guide his organization. However, they are imperfect men who have made many mistakes in the past, who continue to make many mistakes, and who, because of their imperfection, will continue to make many mistakes. So, in my view, placing absolute trust in them would be very inappropriate. What would I have done if I had been a member of the congregation in this video? Well, I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have followed exactly the instructions of the elders. Why? Because those instructions seem to me very appropriate, wise, and judicious. They seem to me appropriate, wise, and judicious. And that's exactly the difference between little abdias and the members of the governing body. As Jehovah requires, I respect the fact that my brothers and sisters don't think the same way I do on matters that are entirely personal, and I forbid myself from putting pressure on them, threatening them, or even insulting them by calling them disobedient brothers and sisters if they don't think like me or make different decisions than I do. Remember the Watchtower from October 1st, 1994, page 20, paragraph 20. A fundamental paragraph quoted in my video number 8. The video ends with the rebellious brother finding himself in a refugee camp. He and his family are safe. They lack nothing, neither materially nor spiritually. Let's listen to him draw the powerful lesson from this story. It is, of course, the governing body speaking through this brother. I quote him. To let Jehovah direct our path, we must show faith and obedience. Faith is not just a state of mind or an emotion. It is the absolute conviction that Jehovah's way of doing things is always the best. We show our trust in Jehovah by obeying the instructions we receive from his organization. It hasn't always been easy, but we've seen that Jehovah always blesses us. When we listen to him and obey him, we must trust those whom Jehovah trusts. Even if at the time we don't understand the instructions, if we get into the habit of letting Jehovah direct our path starting today, it will be easier to obey him in the future. End of quote. And yes. So we've reached the end of these 5 videos. Did you still have some doubts about whether the organization teaches very clearly that the voice of the elders is the voice of Jehovah on earth? Well, this time your doubts have just been completely dispelled. At least I hope so. So we're going to do a little exercise to finish. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of a couple who watched their child die in their arms after the shot. From myocarditis, for example, but above all for having made the mistake of trusting the governing body. A couple who are listening to the conclusion of this video. Please put yourself in this couple's shoes. I quote, to let Jehovah direct our path, we must show faith and obedience. Faith is not just a state of mind, nor an emotion, it is absolute conviction that Jehovah's way of doing things is always the best. We show our trust in Jehovah by obeying the instructions we receive from his organization. It hasn't always been easy, but we've found that Jehovah always blesses us when we listen to him and obey him. There you have it. go and say that to those who have lost a loved one because of your instructions, dear brothers of the governing body and elders. This video is a powerful tool to condition Jehovah's Witnesses to blind obedience to the elders. To conclude, imagine that, as explained in Matthew chapter 24, verses 48 and 49, the governing body were to start acting very badly toward the brothers and sisters. They would lose Jehovah's favor. What if Satan took advantage of this opportunity to somehow act within Jehovah's organization, and under Satan's influence an instruction was given that truly endangered all the brothers and sisters? What would happen then? This situation is hypothetical but not impossible, and could be disastrous for all Jehovah's Witnesses who have been conditioned to obey blindly any instruction, even if it seems completely absurd to them. In accordance with Galatians chapter 6 verse 5, each Jehovah's Witness takes and will take responsibility for themselves. Personally, I take responsibility for myself. The next video will explain why it is not utopian to think that members of the governing body could be brought before a religious disciplinary committee, and why it is also not utopian to believe that this interference by the organization in the private lives of brothers and sisters could come to a definitive end. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments, and don't hesitate to give a thumbs up if you want to give this channel a bit more momentum. To my right, you'll find the main video of this channel. To my left, you can click on the little bubble. To subscribe, thank you for listening, and see you very soon.